Picture this, an RV sitting on the shoulder of Interstate 40 in New Mexico, transmission fluid pooling on the asphalt, dashboard lit up like a slot machine paying out, and a repair estimate that just exceeded the owner's entire annual campground budget. I talked to a transmission rebuilder in Arizona who told me he refuses to touch certain RV drivetrains anymore. Not because he cannot fix them, because he is tired of explaining to owners why the same failure keeps happening every 18 months. Here is the thing most RV buyers do not realize. You think you are choosing between dozens of brands, but Thor Industries and Forest River control the vast majority of motorhome production in this country. They standardize drivetrain choices based on profit margins, not durability. The transmission in your dream RV was selected by an accountant, not an engineer. I'm not here to scare you. I'm here to show you how to stop shopping like a victim and start thinking like an auditor. End of this video, you will know exactly which transmissions get blacklisted by independent mechanics, and why one builder outside the corporate machine still engineers RVs to last decades instead of warranty periods. Let's get forensic. Transmission 1, Ram ProMaster Automatic. The Ram ProMaster Automatic is dying a slow death in Class B motorhomes, and the failure mode is as predictable as it is expensive. Chronic overheating combined with premature clutch pack failure under sustained load. We are talking complete transmission replacement before 100,000 miles, in applications where that mileage should barely qualify as broken in. The why is simple. Front-wheel drive architecture paired with a light-duty automatic that was never designed for rolling brick aerodynamics or full-time weight. Corporate builders choose the ProMaster platform because it is cheaper to package and easier to build around, not because the drivetrain survives real-world use. It works great as a delivery van running city routes. It disintegrates when you ask it to haul a house across the Rockies. Independent transmission rebuilders report consistent metal contamination in the fluid, early torque converter failure, and complete internal destruction that looks like the transmission aged 30 years in 3. One shop owner told me he can spot a ProMaster rebuild by the smell alone. That is not good engineering. That is corporate cost optimization wearing a disguise. Translation, this transmission is being asked to tow a house while wearing flip-flops. Verdict, a drivetrain on palliative care from the day you drive it off the lot. Transmission 2, Ford E-Series Cutaway Automatic. The Ford E-Series Cutaway platform has been kept alive long past its expiration date, and the automatic transmission is paying the price. Heat-induced seal failure and delayed shifting leading to cascading internal damage. It works fine until it does not, and when it fails, it takes everything with it. Engineers warned about this years ago. Accountants won. The E-Series survived because it is cheap, familiar, and supported by legacy supply chains that make procurement easy and margins fat. Nobody cared that the platform was designed in the 90s and the transmission was being asked to do jobs it was never spec'd for. Fleet service bulletins tell the whole story. Repeat rebuild cycles instead of one-time fixes. Long-term owner reports showing the same failure pattern across different model years and different manufacturers. Mechanics describing delayed engagement, harsh shifts under load, and seal leaks that start small and end catastrophic. One technician told me he has rebuilt the same customer's E-Series transmission 3 times in 5 years. Same failure, same root cause. Same refusal by the manufacturer to address the actual problem. Translation, a dinosaur in automotive terms still being sold as dependable. Verdict, it will fail and it will cost you more than the initial repair because nobody fixed why it failed in the first place. Transmission 3, Thor specified drivetrain calibrations. Here is where it gets truly criminal. Thor Industries does not always build bad transmissions. Sometimes they just program good ones to fail. Shift logic mismatch to RV weight causes excessive heat and accelerated wear. The transmission is constantly confused because it was never told it would be hauling a building. This comes down to piece rate pay manufacturing. Technicians are paid per unit installed, not per unit calibrated correctly. Faster installs beat smarter setups every single time. So the drivetrain gets whatever programming the base chassis came with, even when the final RV weighs 8,000 pounds more than the calibration assumes. Recall documentation backs this up. Drivability complaints tied to factory programming errors. Technician reports showing that the first thing independent shops do during repairs is override the factory tune. 1. Mechanics showed me a service bulletin that basically admitted the shift points were wrong from the factory, but only after thousands of units had already been sold and driven into the ground. Translation: software negligence masquerading as engineering. Verdict: your transmission is failing because nobody bothered to tell it what job it actually has. If this breakdown is helping you avoid a financial ambush, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. This channel exists because the brochures will not tell you this stuff. Transmission 4, Allison automatic and entry-level diesel pushers. Now we need to talk about a good transmission being destroyed by bad execution. The Allison automatic has a bulletproof reputation in heavy-duty applications, and that reputation is earned. But when manufacturers install it in entry-level diesel pushers and cheap out on cooling, mounting geometry, and surrounding components, that reputation becomes a liability. The failure mode is not the Allison, it is heat starvation caused by poor chassis integration. Mechanics report finding Allison internals that look perfect, surrounded by a cooling system that was undersized, poorly routed, or blocked by cost-cut chassis design. The transmission did not fail, it was suffocated. Here's the thing, manufacturers trade on the Allison name in their marketing. They plaster it all over the brochure because buyers recognize it as a premium component. Then they install it in a chassis that does not support it properly, knowing that when it fails, the buyer will blame Allison, not the builder who turned a warhorse into a victim. Translation: a strong heart suffocating in a badly designed body. Verdict: not a bad transmission, but criminally misused. Bonus issue: Winnebago/Itasca powertrain integration failures. Winnebago and Itasca have a unique problem. Their transmissions are not failing mechanically. They are being killed by electrical faults and sensor failures that cascade into limp mode and total drivability loss. The transmission is fine. The RV keeps lying to it. The root cause is complex wiring routed through aluminum plywood walls that flex, vibrate, and absorb moisture. Every time the RV moves, those walls shift. Every time it rains or you run the shower, moisture gets into spaces it should never reach. Electrical connectors corrode. Sensors throw false codes. The computer thinks the transmission is dying when really it is just being fed bad data. Recall data confirms this. Electrical shorts, dash failures, drivetrain warning systems triggering on phantom problems. One viewer commented on a previous video describing how their motorhome went into limp mode 6 times in 2 years, and every time the dealership replaced a sensor, blamed a software glitch, or told them it was normal. It is not normal. It is what happens when you build an RV like a house and expect it to behave like a vehicle. Translation: the transmission is fine, but the RV keeps lying to it. Verdict: death by 1,000 cheap connectors. The systemic problem: Forest River chassis. Cost-cutting Forest River has turned cost-cutting into performance art, and the drivetrain pays for it. Mounting stress and frame flex accelerate transmission wear to the point where the mechanical component fails, not because it is weak, but because the structure around it cannot stop moving. Thin steel frames, self-tapping screws instead of structural bolts. Chassis built to minimum tolerance and mounted with components that were never designed to handle the forces involved. When the frame twists under load, the driveline goes out of alignment. When the driveline is out of alignment, the transmission starts wearing unevenly. And when the transmission wears unevenly, you get catastrophic failure that looks like a parts problem but is actually a systems problem. Owner photos and inspection reports show this over and over. Frame cracks, mounting bolt holes elongated from vibration, drivetrain, components that have shifted out of position. Independent mechanics report finding transmissions that failed because the entire powertrain was moving around inside a chassis that could not hold it still. Translation: when the frame twists, the transmission pays the price. Verdict: held together by hope and self-tapping screws. The root cause: industry-wide cooling system. Negligence, let me tell you what ties all of these failures together. Cooling system negligence. Transmission fluid breakdown from chronic overheating is the underlying executioner in almost every catastrophic drivetrain failure I just described. Cooling systems in modern RVs are designed for brochure photos, not desert grades or summer traffic. Engineers spec the minimum airflow required to pass certification testing. Then accountants cut even that back to save $12 per unit. The result is transmissions that cook themselves to death on the first long hill or the first hot day towing. Mechanics report repeated rebuilds where the root cause was never corrected, only reset. The customer gets a fresh transmission, drives it under the same conditions, and watches the exact same failure happen again 18 months later. Nobody addresses the cooling. Nobody upgrades the radiator or adds external coolers or repositions air dams. They just replace the part and send you back out. Translation, they sell you horsepower and forget airflow exists. Verdict, a slow mechanical execution. The era of quality is over for mass-produced RVs. What you are buying today is optimized for financing approval, not longevity. Transmissions fail not because you use them wrong, but because the system was engineered to survive just long enough to clear the warranty window. After that, you are on your own with a $50,000 asset that needs a $12,000 rebuild. So what is the safe list? Look at pre-acquisition era motorhomes built before corporate consolidation turned this industry into a race to the bottom. Consider factory direct or low volume builders that overbuild frames, oversized cooling systems, and spec drivetrains honestly instead of optimistically. Brands like Newmar before they were absorbed, or current independents like Oliver Travel Trailers that still engineer for longevity instead of lease terms. This is retirement money on the line. Do not let corporations with quarterly earnings calls turn it into scrap metal on the side of a highway. Stop shopping like a victim and start thinking like an auditor. If this expose helped you dodge a financial betrayal, subscribe to this channel because the brochures will never tell you what I just did.